Welcome to Love Story with Lisa, where I share romantic audio stories. Today, I'll tell you a new love story. Title: Loving 8 Men at the Same Time. I was dating 8 boyfriends at the same time. Yes, all 8 of them. They all treated me as a substitute, and I didn't care. As long as the money arrived on time and in full, every single one of them was my precious little darling. Later on, when they discovered each other's existence, they completely lost their minds. Welcome to the story. I am a master of time management. For 3 whole months, I dated 8 boyfriends simultaneously. Not a single one of them discovered the other's existence. They all believed they were the one I loved the most. And more than that, they often felt troubled and irritated by the way I loved them. Time and time again, they warned me to know my place, to stop having improper thoughts about them. I almost laughed myself to death. The only improper thoughts I had were about their money. Boyfriend number 1, Nathan Moore. Nathan Moore was a wealthy CEO type, rich beyond reason, but annoyingly dramatic. He loved office roleplay. Every time we went on a date, he demanded that I wear a white dress, pretend to be his secretary, and accompany him during his lunch break. He even wanted me to play the piano for him, so full of himself. But unfortunately, he was stupid, rich, and generous, a deadly combination no one could possibly refuse. That afternoon, I followed his instructions perfectly. White dress, light makeup, long black hair falling straight down my back. I waited for him inside his office. When he returned from his meeting, he frowned the moment he saw me. His eyes were filled with undisguised disgust. Looking at a substitute like me, he spoke coldly. Even if you imitate her clumsily, even if you look exactly the same, you'll never compare to even one strand of her hair. I smiled politely. As long as you like it. What an idiot. This was exactly what he asked for. But my response only made his gaze turn colder. Who knew what he imagined in his head? He said icily, "I've warned you before. Don't fall for me. In this lifetime, I will only ever love her." All right, I know, you already have your white moonlight. I secretly pinched myself, my eyes reddening instantly, then walked to the piano and played a trembling, hesitant piece just for him. He listened for only half of it before standing up in anger, his face full of disappointment. It's unbearable, as expected. No matter how similar a fake is, it's still fake. Halfway through the date, he turned around and left. At the same time, 20,000 was transferred into my account. I stared at his retreating figure, wiped my tears, and said softly, "Nathan Moore, I don't need your dirty money." Sure enough, disgust flashed across his face again. In a cold, indifferent tone, he said, "Remember this. Between us, there will only ever be money." Then, angrily, he transferred another 500,000 to me. Oh, how rebellious. I liked that. Goodbye, Nathan Moore. I didn't waste another second before rushing off to meet the next one. 8 men. Even for a master of time management like me, life was exhausting. Boyfriend number 2, Julian Jiang. Julian Jiang was a university professor. That day, he asked me to go shopping with him at the mall. He picked out dozens of outfits and told me to try them on one by one. I spent the entire afternoon changing clothes until I was exhausted. My legs weak, I forcefully suppressed the urge to curse and instead smiled sweetly. "Julian, will you buy all of these for me? You're so good to me. I really like every single one." As I spoke, I happily hooked my arm through his. The next second, he stood up abruptly. His expression darkened as he avoided my touch. Frowning in disgust, he said, "I already told you. I hate being touched by anyone other than her." He checked his watch. instructed the staff to pack up the clothes, and said to me, "I have something else to do. I'm leaving, I'll transfer you the money. If you like any clothes, go buy them yourself. Remember, don't buy anything similar to hers. I hate seeing others wearing the same things as her. And one more thing. If it's not necessary, don't text or call me, I'm very busy." With that, he turned and left. At the same moment, 200,000 appeared in my account. That's right. All 8 of my boyfriends were exactly the same. They spent money hiring me to date them, but in reality, it was nothing more than eating together, chatting, or shopping. Even if they died, they would protect their so-called purity for their white moonlight. They wouldn't even let me touch their hand, not even a little, honestly. I loved it. When I saw the 8 of them standing together, glaring at each other with hostility, yet soft and affectionate the moment they looked at her, I stood there, stunned. This scene, yeah, this worked too. Suddenly, I felt that my past self hadn't quite mastered her essence yet. Her name was Lucy Lin. She was the childhood sweetheart of all 8 of them. We were the same age. But she was nothing like me. I was an orphan, raised in an orphanage with no parents since childhood. She, on the other hand, was the precious daughter of the Lin Corporation, a sheltered little princess who had been adored since birth. That night, Henry Han transferred 50,000 to me as compensation for pushing me to the ground. After transferring the money, he ordered me, "This weekend, come have dinner with Lucy." This time, he had miscalculated. He even started blaming me. When I pushed her, "Why didn't you hold on to me, next time, perform better?" Got it? After receiving the money, I didn't say a single word. I directly blocked him. Along with him, the other 7 boyfriends were also blocked. Sorry about that. I'd earned enough, and I was done serving. On the 3rd day, 8 luxury cars stopped right in front of the shabby rental house where I lived. At that time, I was at the market buying a chicken. Just as the vendor finished weighing it, Auntie Lin, the landlord, ran over in panic. "Qianqian, something's wrong. 8 men came to your door. They all claim to be your boyfriends. They've started fighting already. Quick, go take a look. It's really bad, there's blood." I carried the chicken back. Sure enough, I saw my 8 ex-boyfriends. Each of them looked miserable. They were all injured, and they were still fighting. I froze. Why weren't these men standing obediently in front of their goddess, waiting for orders? Why did they come looking for me instead? So unlucky. I covered my face, preparing to sneak home quietly. But Nathan Moore spotted me. He spoke coldly. "Qianqian, explain. What is going on with the 7 of them?" As soon as he finished speaking, the others stopped moving. They all turned toward me angrily. Some of them were still gripping each other's collars. I stood there, holding a chicken, feeling a little awkward. Then I secretly pinched myself again. My eyes reddened as I spoke gently. "Stop fighting. Please don't fight because of me anymore." Very good. This time, I had finally learned Lucy Lin's essence. But unexpectedly, it was completely useless. They stared at me with fury, their gazes even more vicious than when they had seen Henry Han holding me earlier. Every one of them looked like they had been betrayed. The gold necklace on Henry Han's neck had been torn off and fell to the ground. He shoved Julian Jiang away violently. Julian Jiang, standing opposite him, shouted angrily, "Qianqian, you dared to cheat on me?" Julian straightened his tie, his face dark, hiding 7 other men behind my back. "Impressive, aren't you?" Boyfriend number 4 wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, grinding his teeth. "In my entire life, no one has ever dared to toy with me like this." "Very well. Qianqian, On one hand you keep saying you love me, and on the other hand you're secretly stepping on 8 boats at once. Do you think I'm an idiot? Boyfriend number 5, the one who had been beaten the worst, had both eyes swollen black and purple. He had completely lost his mind. He screamed at me, Qianqian, tell me, out of the 8 of us, who do you actually love? Aren't Lucy Lin and the rest of you getting along just fine? So why are you all making such a huge scene over a substitute like me, huh? Does that make any sense? So, I copied Lucy Lin's manner exactly. Tears streamed down my face, emotions surging, as I said softly, you are all my best friends, and you all have the most intimate relationship with me. From now on, never ask questions like, who do you love the most, ever again. In my heart, you are all equally important to me. Even if I have a child one day, you would all be the child's godfathers. Turn your passionate love into silent care. Take care of me, take care of our child. Let the child receive the love of 8 fathers, and become the happiest child in the world. Isn't that good? The moment I finished speaking, I looked at them with tear-filled eyes. You are all my best friends. You all have the closest relationship with me. Never ask again who I love the most. You are all equally important. Even if I have a child, you'll all be the godfathers. Love me, love our child in silence. Let the child grow up wrapped in the affection of 8 fathers. Isn't that good? The moment those words fell, all 8 ex-boyfriends looked as if they had just swallowed shit. Good, this time, I'd copied the flavor perfectly. Julian Zhang's face was full of disgust. He looked at me as if I were a lunatic. You want to be her backup tire? You think you're worthy? Nathan Moore's voice was icy cold. You've been a substitute for too long, and now you really think you're the real thing? I'm warning you, don't play tricks in front of me. Everything had been developing just fine. Who could have known that a traitor would suddenly appear among them? Henry Han slightly lifted his chin. His tone arrogant, as if bestowing charity. Didn't you beg me before, asking to stay by my side forever? Fine, now I'll agree. As long as you break up with them in the future, I can let the past go. The moment he finished speaking, everyone else turned coldly toward Henry Han. Their expressions clearly said, we're about to beat you to death. Boyfriend number 5, the most unhinged one, whose thinking was nothing like the others, and who always grasped the strangest key points, looked as if lightning had struck him in broad daylight. You're pregnant. Whose bastard is it? After shouting, his eyes turned red as he scanned everyone around him, wearing the exact expression of someone catching a cheater. No matter who he looked at, everyone seemed like the baby's father. Finally, as if realizing something, he pointed straight at Henry Han. Grinding his teeth, eyes blazing with fury, he said, it's his. What? Henry Han pointed at himself, then looked at me, completely stunned. The next second, everyone else clenched their teeth, murderous intent filling their eyes, as they all locked onto Henry Han. A war could break out at any moment. Boyfriend number 5 was the first to charge forward, throwing a punch straight at Henry Han. Henry Han cried out in pain, instantly going berserk. Before he could say anything, Nathan Moore punched him as well. Soon, Henry Han was being beaten by everyone. While he was getting gang-beaten, I seized the opportunity and slipped away. That night, all 8 ex-boyfriends tossed and turned, unable to sleep. In the end, they couldn't hold back and called me one by one, furiously demanding, whose child is it, really? I was speechless. Are you sick? What child? There is no child. In the end, I gave all of them the same unified answer. It's your dad's. Then I decisively changed my SIM card. One day, while out, I unexpectedly ran into Lucy Lin. When she saw me, the innocent, harmless look she once had was gone. Instead, her face showed disgust, contempt, and mockery. "So it's you." I blinked. "Oh. It's me. Wow. You really do have two faces." Seeing that I didn't respond, she frowned unhappily. "Why did you come back? To humiliate yourself like a clown? So what if you look a bit like me? You're still just a fake. Even if they give you a glance, it's only because of me. You think you can steal the men beside me, with a few little tricks? Stop dreaming. The person they love will forever be only me." Yes, yes, yes. I truly didn't care about her mockery at all. I even nodded firmly. 8 lunatics like that. Who would want them? Only you could put up with them. I sincerely beg you, keep a tight leash on them, okay? Tell them not to come looking for me anymore. As a result, Lucy Lin thought I was provoking her. She rolled her eyes, sneering. "Are you dreaming?" In their eyes, there's only me. They would come find me on their own. Stop being delusional. But the second after she finished speaking, Henry Han came looking for me. And yes, he came right in front of her. He hadn't slept for 2 days and 2 nights. His eyes were bloodshot, filled with red veins. He'd clearly been beaten badly, his face swollen like a pig's head. His arm was wrapped in bandages. Honestly, he looked a little ridiculous, the moment he saw me. He clenched his teeth and strode toward me. He didn't even spare Lucy Lin a glance. He grabbed my arm hard. His eyes were crimson, his face twisted with pain and rage, looking at me as if deeply wounded as he roared madly. "Do you even have a heart? 8 of us still aren't enough for you, and now you're even setting your sights on my father? Tell me, since when did you and him start?" I silently looked at him, saying nothing. I seriously began to wonder, why were all 8 of Lucy Lin's chosen ones so much like her? None of them seemed normal. I had only casually blurted out nonsense. Who knew someone would actually believe it? Henry Han stared at me painfully for a long time. Finally, he compromised. "Give birth to my younger brother. I'll raise him. As long as you behave from now on, I can pretend nothing ever happened." I didn't understand, and I was completely shocked. "Does your father know about this?" Lucy Lin, standing beside us, also instantly changed expression. Then, as if thinking of something, she revealed a gentle, knowing smile and said softly, "Ziki, I'm here." "Did you recognize the wrong person?" Henry Han froze. He said in surprise, "Yuthi? You're here too?" Those words made it perfectly clear. He hadn't mistaken anyone. The smile on Lucy Lin's face froze solid in an instant. Because Lucy Lin was there, that day Henry Han didn't continue harassing me. Just like that, everything went quiet for 2 days. I thought that my conversation with Lucy Lin that day had worked, that she had really managed to stop them. Who would have guessed? On the 3rd day, all 8 of them stormed angrily to my doorstep again. Nathan Moore spoke coldly. "What did you say to Lucy? Why did she cry for half the night after she got back?" Julian Jiang, expressionless, said, "I'm warning you. Don't even think about using those dirty tricks on Lucy. She's different from someone like you, poor, living among market streets, only caring about money, sinister and scheming. She's grown up eating well and dressing well. She's innocent and kind. When we were young, she even risked her life to save us. All 8 of us owe her our lives. No matter when, she will always be the most important person in my life. I will never allow anyone to hurt her. Henry Hahn clenched his teeth. I even thought it wouldn't be easy for you to raise a child alone. I was planning that even if I married and had kids in the future, I'd still keep you by my side. I never imagined your mind could be this vicious. If you dare do anything to Lucy, I will make you regret it for the rest of your life. Ex-boyfriend number 4 let out a cold laugh. Don't think that just because the 8 of us treated you a little differently, you can act wildly in front of Lucy. I've already investigated everything. You're not pregnant at all. You were just acting, playing hard to get. Honestly, I wanted to applaud him. Such a high IQ. As if this kind of thing even needed investigating. Ex-boyfriend number 5 completely lost it. You're not just stepping on 8 boats at once. Your intentions are downright malicious. You don't deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as Lucy. She's innocent and pure. What right do you have to act so arrogantly in front of her? If other people don't get angry, you really think they're idiots, don't you? Then number 6, 7, and 8 all took turns looking down on me and scolding me. I sighed, utterly speechless. All right, I get it. The one you love most is Lucy Lin. I'm not even worth a single strand of her hair. But honestly, I truly don't want to be involved in the emotional mess between you people anymore. I sincerely feel that the 9 of you were born to be a perfectly matched team, destined to stay together for life. So after thinking for a moment, I seriously suggested, how about this, from now on, don't come looking for me anymore. That way, your Lucy won't be heartbroken again. The result? I don't know if their brains short-circuited or what. Not only did they ignore my sincere advice, they even misunderstood it as me throwing a tantrum, as jealousy, as fighting for affection with Lucy Lin. Henry Hahn directly let out a cold laugh. His expression screamed I knew it. With disdain, he said, "What? Are you jealous of Lucy now? I warned you so many times, yet you still have improper thoughts about me. Although in my heart, you're not even worth a strand of Lucy's hair, considering your feelings for me, as long as you obediently go apologize to Lucy, and swear never to appear in front of her again. I can agree to let you stay by my side, as my secret lover." Nathan Moore's face darkened instantly. Henry Hahn, you really haven't been beaten enough, have you? After saying that, he turned toward me. Still wearing that confident, self-assured look, he asked in confusion, "You loved me for 3 months. You loved me so desperately you'd live or die for me. You even said you didn't need money as long as you could stay by my side. Then why did you later go find the other 7? Did they threaten you? Although my heart will always belong to Lucy, for the sake of those 3 months, as long as you beg me, and obediently stay by my side in the future, I can help you get away from them." Ex-boyfriend number 5 went berserk. Bullshit, Qian loves me the most. She cooked and washed clothes for me all the time. Ex-boyfriend number 4 sneered. Cooking and washing clothes mean nothing. She doesn't love you at all. She would drink with me until my stomach hurt, and take care of me all night. Even knowing my heart belonged to someone else, she'd still worry about me and tell me not to drink. Ex-boyfriend number 7 refused to back down. That's nothing. She knew I liked someone else, yet willingly became a substitute for her. She even copied her dressing style and habits to please me. She remembered my birthday, all my preferences. Everything. If this isn't love, then what is? Very quickly, they started arguing again, about who I loved the most. about what I had done for each of them. Each one stubbornly believed that he was the man I loved most. I silently covered my ears and thought, I truly could not understand men's damned desire to win. They kept saying the one they loved most was Lucy Lynn, yet they could still almost come to blows over the question of who I loved most. I endured it for 2 minutes. In the end, the noise became unbearable. I couldn't help but speak softly. I really don't have improper thoughts about any of you. I'm just strictly following the professional ethics of the substitute industry. For the sake of money, I obediently complied with your demands. Don't take it seriously. And besides, you saw me as a substitute. I saw you as clients. It was a transaction of mutual consent. Kidnapping morality isn't appropriate. For substitutes like us, the first rule of the job is never, ever, to fall in love. Rest assured, bosses. I swear I'll run far away in the future and never appear in front of you or Lucy again. I wish the 9 of you 100 years of happiness, growing old together, many children and abundant blessings. The moment I finished speaking, the 8 ex-boyfriends who had been fighting over who I loved most all froze. Every single one of them turned pale. They all turned their heads to look at me, their eyes filled with disbelief. You saying you loved us, it was all fake? Seeing how shocked they were, I looked just as horrified. You guys didn't actually fall in love with me, did you? Help, please don't. They suit Lucy Lynn much better. After hearing that, the 8 men's expressions all turned ugly at once. They sneered in unison. Love you? Are you worthy? In this lifetime, I will only ever love Lucy. After saying that, they once again warned me not to disturb them or Lucy Lynn ever again. Finally, in a loud mess, they turned and left. I let out a long breath of relief, patting my chest. Good thing that's not the case. That scared me to death. The days when they stopped coming to bother me were truly blissful. I went back to my hometown to visit the orphanage. The director held my hand, eyes filled with tears. My child, don't keep sending money back all the time. Save some for yourself, spend it on your own life. A group of malnourished children clung to me as they followed behind, calling me sister, sister. I bent down and gently rubbed each of their heads, smiling as I said, Director, I grew up here too. This is my home. You don't need to be polite with me. Most of the money I earned from those 8 ex-boyfriends was handed over to the director. She had never married in her entire life. Half of her youth, all of her savings, everything had been poured into this place. I had been abandoned right outside the orphanage gates and picked up by the director. Even though we weren't related by blood, she had raised and taught us orphans, as if we were her own children. Every child who grew up here, once they stepped out into the world, remembered her kindness. I stayed at the orphanage for a week. Before I left, the director handed me a jade bracelet. She sighed softly and said, This child. You were kind and sensible from a very young age. Do you remember when you were 7, you secretly ran outside and ran into kidnappers? You even saved several other children. You almost lost your life that time. You nearly scared me to death. In the blink of an eye, you've grown so much. Take this jade bracelet with you. It's the one you wore when you were little. When I brought you back, you were too young. I was afraid you'd lose it, so I kept it for you. The quality of this jade is very good. It doesn't look like something from a poor family. Your being in the orphanage, there may be another hidden story. If fate allows, Perhaps one day you'll find your family. I looked at the jade bracelet, emotions tangled. If they had already abandoned me, then there was no need to look for them anymore. Director, I said softly, you should sell this bracelet and use the money to buy food for the children. She smiled, glared at me, and firmly stuffed the bracelet into my hand. Just as I was about to leave, I ran into a man wearing a neat suit and polished leather shoes. The director greeted him warmly with a smile. Only then did I learn that he had heard about the orphanage's difficulties and had come to donate money. The director turned to me and asked, Qianqian, do you remember him? I hesitated for a moment. The director laughed happily and said, this is Li Qingye. Didn't you once save a group of children from kidnappers? At the time, this boy lost his memory and stayed at our orphanage for over half a year, before his family finally came to take him home. Back then, Qingye was older than you, and taller by half a head. But every day he ran after you, calling sister, sister, non-stop. You found him annoying, and always tried to shake him off, but you never could. Hu Dan was the name you gave him. You said he was strong like a little tiger, so Hu Dan suited him. I thought carefully. It did seem there had been someone like that. The man also seemed to remember. First, he looked at me in surprise, then smiled shyly. So, Sister Qianqian. Being called sister by a man who was actually a year older than me, and very handsome, made me feel a little embarrassed. You can just call me Qianqian, I said. Hu Dan, Li Qingye, happened to work in the same city as I did. He offered to drive me home. Along the way, we chatted casually. The awkwardness slowly faded. When we reached my door, we exchanged contact information. Li Qingye smiled and said, I've been going back to the orphanage these past few years, always hoping to see you again, but I never managed to. Are you free tomorrow? Give me a chance to treat you to a meal, to repay my life-saving debt from back then. I smiled and nodded. Suddenly, he reached out and gently ruffled my hair. That's great. Sister Qianqian still remembers me. Who would have thought, at that exact moment, 8 men jumped out from the shadows, from 8 different directions. When they saw each other, they all froze for a moment. Clearly, none of them had expected the others to be there. Then, all at once, they turned their furious gazes toward Li Qingye. Nathan Moore was the first to speak. Looks like I underestimated you. Only a few days apart, and you've already found someone new. Li Qingye glanced at them, then looked at me, his handsome face full of confusion. I smiled awkwardly. Sorry for the joke. These are my 8 ex-boyfriends. The 8 men clearly recognized Li Qingye. The moment they realized who he was, their expressions grew even uglier. Henry Han exploded in rage. So it's you again, Li Qingye. Fine if you cling to Lucy all day, but now you're even targeting Qianqian? I'm warning you, my patience is limited. Don't think that just because Lucy likes you, I won't dare do anything to you. Julian Jiang also stared coldly at Li Qingye. What is your relationship with Qianqian? I was stunned. I hadn't expected Hu Dan to be this impressive. He was actually the white moonlight, of my 8 ex-boyfriends. Li Qingye frowned slightly. Ignoring them, he lowered his voice and asked me, are they harassing you? I nodded blankly. After hearing that, Li Qingye took my hand. Then he looked coldly at the 8 men opposite him and said, I have no relationship with Lucy Lin. And I never did. But Qianqian is my girlfriend. I ask you all to have some self-respect. And I hope none of you will ever come and bother my girlfriend again. The moment Li Qingye finished speaking, the 8 men's eyes turned bloodshot. Every one of them glared at him furiously. I instantly raised my guard. I knew this scene too well. The last time Henry Han got beaten in a group, they had looked exactly like this. Li Qingye only wanted to help me escape them. He didn't deserve to get caught in the crossfire. I hurriedly stepped in front of Li Qingye, baring my teeth as I glared at them. If you want to hit my boyfriend, you'll have to step over my dead body first. As soon as I said that, the 8 men opposite turned red with rage. I genuinely wondered if they all had conjunctivitis. Among them, Henry Han was the angriest. He still hadn't fully recovered from being beaten last time. His arm was still wrapped in bandages. Now, as he stared at me and Li Qingye, his mental defenses completely collapsed. He staggered back 2 steps, his face full of disbelief as he screamed, "Why didn't you protect me when I was getting beaten last time? Qianqian, so you really never loved me at all. So you never loved me after all. Tracy Su." Liu Li chuckled softly and pulled me behind him. Lowering his voice, he said, "After I came back from the orphanage, my father threw me straight into the military. I trained there for more than 10 years. Don't worry. They're no match for me." I looked at him, half believing, half doubting, yet in less than half an hour, all 8 men were already beaten flat on the ground by Liu Li. Groaning and unable to get back up, "So arrogant," he said calmly, rolling his wrist as if nothing had happened. "Turns out you're all just paper tigers. Not a single one of you can fight." He glanced at them indifferently, then took my hand and led me upstairs, bringing me to his place. Only then did he let go, his ears slightly red. "Sorry. I crossed a line just now." I waved my hand generously. "It's fine. If it weren't for you, I'd have been in real trouble." He hesitated, then stopped himself. After a moment, he finally asked, "Those 8 lunatics. If they're not marrying Vivian Lin, why are they suddenly coming after you?" The moment he said that, I felt like I'd found a kindred spirit. "You know them too?" I asked. That night, Liu Li and I ended up talking for a long time. We talked about my 8 ex-boyfriends, and about Vivian Lin. From him, I finally learned the truth. It turned out that Liu Li, my ex-boyfriends, and Vivian Lin had all grown up in the same old residential compound. From elementary school all the way through high school, they attended the same schools. Liu Li, however, always felt there was something wrong with them and rarely interacted with them. The reason was simple: my 8 ex-boyfriends were obsessively in love with Vivian Lin. Yet Vivian Lin didn't like any of them. Instead, she fell for Liu Li. Because of that, ever since childhood, my ex-boyfriends had constantly picked fights with Liu Li. They cursed him for not knowing what was good for him, saying Vivian treated him so well, yet he didn't even look at her. They called him blind. They even tried, more than once, to force or seduce him, just to make him fall in love with Vivian Lin. Such a selfless kind of love, Liu Li said flatly. At first, he would beat them whenever he got annoyed. Later, he decided their brains were defective and didn't want to catch whatever illness they had, so he kept his distance instead. After hearing all that, my expression stayed complicated for a long time. That they really were insane. Vivian Lin and those 8 men truly were a perfect match. A match made in heaven. I also told Liu Li how I'd gotten involved with them. Back then, the orphanage was short on funds and on the verge of shutting down. I wanted to help the director, so I agreed to become Moran Su's substitute girlfriend. Later, The other 7 men came to me as well. I thought being a substitute for one was the same as being a substitute for 8, and the pay was better. So I took them all. Leoli looked guilty after hearing this. I'm sorry. I was stuck in the military all these years. I didn't come back in time and let you suffer. I laughed. Suffer? Not at all. I should be thanking all 9 of them. If I'd gone out to work normally, I'd never have made that much money. Then I casually added, funny thing is, Vivian Lynn and I actually look quite alike. If I weren't an orphan, I'd almost think she was my biological sister. Leoli frowned slightly and examined me carefully. Not really, he said. She's not as pretty as you. After saying that, he suddenly turned red himself. Leoli was genuinely considerate. Afraid I'd be harassed again, he often invited me out for meals. The only problem was that whenever he walked me home, we'd always run into those 8 men. They didn't dare approach anymore, too afraid of getting beaten, but they'd stand by the roadside, grinding their teeth and glaring at us. It was irritating. Not long after that, Vivian Lynn came looking for me herself. She glanced at me with disdain, then directly threw a bank card at my feet. 20 million, she said. Stay away from Leoli. Then she smiled faintly. Tracy Sue, why are you so cheap? Always targeting my men. Whether it was those 8 or Leoli, you approached them all for money, didn't you? Poor, low-class women like you, I've seen plenty. The 8 of them love me. They won't marry you. That's why you set your sights on Leoli, right? Don't dream. The Lee family will never allow an orphan with no background like you to enter their household. There's 20 million on that card. Be smart. Take it and get out of this city. Don't ever appear in front of Leoli or those 8 again. I looked at the card on the ground, then at Vivian Lynn, and couldn't help sighing inwardly. So this was the power of love, the 2 faces of Vivian Lynn, and those 8 so-called princes, had gone unnoticed for so many years. Without even sparing her another glance, I turned and walked away. But just as I passed her, she suddenly fell to the ground. The next second, the 8 men jumped out from the roadside. They first hurried to help Vivian Lynn up. Then they turned on me with furious glares. Vivian Lynn wiped her tears, crying as if they were falling like rain. I'm sorry, sister. I didn't know you hated me because of them. I really didn't mean any harm today. I only heard the orphanage was short on funds, so I wanted to donate some money to help in an emergency. Moran Sue looked at the card on the ground, then at Vivian's aggrieved face, and exploded. So you threw away Vivian's goodwill, and you even dared to push her? How did I ever fall for such a vicious woman like you? Henry Hahn glared at me in disgust. Aren't you poor? You could sell yourself as a substitute for money. Now Vivian gives you money, and suddenly you remember your pathetic pride? Jason Jiang spoke coldly. So you toyed with us out of jealousy, didn't you? You envied Vivian. She was born into wealth, innocent, lively, loved since childhood. And you? You grew up in an orphanage, gloomy, poor, scraping by every day. So you wanted to steal us from her. Steal Leoli, destroy her innocence. How can a woman with a heart as venomous as yours even exist? I was speechless, utterly speechless. Fine. As long as you're happy with your imagination, these men truly deserved Vivian Lynn. I tried to leave, but they surrounded me, their faces dark and accusatory. Jason Jiang said coldly, You think you can just walk away? Moran Sue frowned. I don't hit women. Slap yourself once. Apologize to Vivian. Then I'll let you go. Henry Hahn snapped. Don't test my patience. No one is allowed to bully Vivian. Ex-boyfriend number 4 sneered. You knocked Vivian down and think you can leave unharmed? Dream on. Ex-boyfriend number 5 added grimly. I used to have some sympathy for you. I didn't expect you'd dare hurt Vivian. If she's injured because of you, you'll regret ever being born. I stood there silently. Behind them, I could see Vivian Lynn covering her injured arm. Tears still clung to her lashes. She looked innocent and pitiful, but the way she looked at me was filled with arrogance, contempt, and mockery. Yes, she despised me. They all despised me. They were waiting for me to slap myself. Waiting to see me humiliated and ugly. Then, Leoli arrived, and with one swift kick, he sent Henry Hahn, standing at the outer edge, flying. Henry Hahn fell headfirst onto the ground, letting out a miserable scream. His arm, still not fully healed, was crushed beneath him again, aggravating the injury even further. Leoli walked over to my side and took my hand. Henry Hahn glared at me in disgust. Aren't you poor? You could sell yourself as a substitute for money. Now Vivian gives you money, and suddenly you remember your pathetic pride? Jason Jiang spoke coldly. So you toyed with us out of jealousy, didn't you? You envied Vivian. She was born into wealth, innocent, lively, loved since childhood. And you? You grew up in an orphanage, gloomy, poor, scraping by every day. So you wanted to steal us from her. Steal Leoli, destroy her innocence. How can a woman with a heart as venomous as yours even exist? I was speechless, utterly speechless. Fine. As long as you're happy with your imagination, these men truly deserved Vivian Lynn. I tried to leave, but they surrounded me, their faces dark and accusatory. Jason Jiang said coldly, You think you can just walk away? Moran Sue frowned. I don't hit women. Slap yourself once. Apologize to Vivian. Then I'll let you go. Henry Hahn snapped. Don't test my patience. No one is allowed to bully Vivian. Ex-boyfriend number 4 sneered. You knocked Vivian down and think you can leave unharmed? Dream on. Ex-boyfriend number 5 added grimly. I used to have some sympathy for you. I didn't expect you'd dare hurt Vivian. If she's injured because of you, you'll regret ever being born. I stood there silently. Behind them, I could see Vivian Lynn covering her injured arm. Tears still clung to her lashes. She looked innocent and pitiful, but the way she looked at me was filled with arrogance, contempt, and mockery. Yes, she despised me. They all despised me. They were waiting for me to slap myself. Waiting to see me humiliated and ugly. Then, Leoli arrived, and with one swift kick, he sent Henry Hahn, standing at the outer edge, flying. Henry Hahn fell headfirst onto the ground, letting out a miserable scream. His arm, still not fully healed, was crushed beneath him again, aggravating the injury even further. Leoli walked over to my side and took my hand. His gaze was icy as he stared straight at them, his voice low and dangerous. So while I wasn't here, you took the chance to bully my girlfriend? Looks like last time I went too easy on you. When Vivian Lynn saw Leoli standing firmly on my side, a flash of jealousy flickered in her eyes. The next second, her tears poured down even harder. She clutched her arm and walked toward us, looking pitiful and fragile. Trinda. I'm sorry, she said softly. I just wanted to help her. I didn't expect everyone to misunderstand. Leoli frowned and said coldly, that's enough. That trick doesn't work on me. Save your tears for those 8 men instead. As for what really happened just now, you know it very well yourself. Vivian Lynn's face instantly turned pale. She bit her lip, looking at Leoli with an even more aggrieved expression. In the blink of an eye, her 8 self-proclaimed princes grew even angrier. Each of them glared fiercely at Leoli. Moran Sue snapped, Leoli, are you blind? Choosing a fake over the real thing? Vivian likes you so much, treats you so well, and this is how you repay her? You go and fall for this vicious substitute instead? Jason Jiang ground his teeth, glaring at Leoli. I'm warning you, apologize to Vivian right now. Otherwise, I won't let this go. She's so pure and kind, and you don't know how to cherish her. Instead, you insist on being with Tracy Sue. Vivian is innocent and good-hearted. She's sinister and malicious. She's nothing but a high-end counterfeit. Do you even understand? If you treat Vivian like this now, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. I was quietly speechless. Why did these men have so many dramatic monologues? Instinctively, I looked at Leoli. He frowned slightly and gave me a reassuring glance. Then he turned back to them and said coldly, show some respect for my girlfriend. Is she really as terrible as you say? If that's truly the case, then tell me, why did you want to beat me up that day? Why did you keep chasing after her non-stop? Why is it that the moment she's with me, you become so unwilling to accept it? The one who'll regret this in the future won't be me. It'll be you. Vivian Lynn, standing behind them, looked slightly pale, but the 8 men frowned and immediately refuted him in unison. What nonsense are you talking about? Why would I care about a fake? Leoli sneered, ignoring them, and continued, you've been coming to Tracy's place over and over to harass her. I was worried about her safety, so I installed cameras here a few days ago. What exactly happened just now? Go see it for yourselves. I stared at Leoli in shock. Vivian Lynn's face, meanwhile, had turned deathly white. She panicked and cried out, Trinda. The 8 men looked at Leoli with expressions full of doubt. Leoli didn't bother explaining further. He pulled up the footage from the cameras and showed it to them. After watching it, all 8 of them looked as if they'd been struck by lightning. They turned to look at Vivian Lynn with complicated expressions, eyes so unfamiliar, as if they'd never truly known her at all. Vivian Lynn could only stand there crying. Her small face was drained of color, her pitiful composure completely shattered. Before leaving, Leoli, still irritated on my behalf, beat the 8 of them up again. When they finally left, every one of them was bruised and battered, but the physical pain wasn't what broke them. What truly destroyed them was seeing Vivian Lynn's arrogant, domineering side, the beautiful illusion they'd worshipped since childhood, shatter completely. Each of them looked as though their entire worldview had collapsed. They had only gone a few meters when ex-boyfriend number 5 suddenly turned back. Grinding his teeth, almost hysterical, he shouted, I don't believe it. Vivian would never do something like that. That video must have been edited. It's fake, everything is fake. She's been innocent and kind since we were kids. Leoli, do you even have a heart? You lost your memory back then, Vivian understood you, and told us not to mention the past in front of you. I didn't want to say it, but I can't take this anymore. More than 10 years ago, when we were kidnapped, if she hadn't risked her life to save us, we'd be dead. She's our life-saving benefactor. How could you treat her like this, for another woman? She was only 7 years old back then. 7. She dared to risk her life to save us. How could she possibly be capable of doing something like this now? I looked at ex-boyfriend number 5, who had completely lost control, and suddenly felt something stir in my memory. Why did this story sound so familiar? In the group, Vivian Lynn's expression changed instantly. Leo Lee frowned deeply. After a long moment, he finally looked at them with a complicated gaze. So, the reason you've treated Vivian Lynn so well all these years is because you believed she was the one who saved us back then? Moran Sue sneered. Otherwise? You lost your memory and trampled on Vivian's kindness, but we didn't. Leo Lee couldn't help but laugh. He looked at the 8 of them as if they were complete idiots. The person who saved us back then wasn't Vivian Lynn, he said flatly. It was Tracy Sue. You should all remember that incident very clearly. If you don't believe me, ask Vivian Lynn herself. See if she can recount the specific details of what happened back then. All 8 of them stared in disbelief and spoke at the same time. That's impossible. But Vivian Lynn's face had already turned completely white. They didn't immediately believe it. Instead, they turned to Vivian Lynn and questioned her about the details of facing the kidnappers. Vivian Lynn's eyes darted around. Her face was pale, her lips trembling. She couldn't answer at all. In the end, I told the entire story from beginning to end. Only then did they realize, the 10 children I had saved back then included Leo Lee and Vivian Lynn. And all 8 of them, thinking back to how crazed they'd been earlier, I felt oddly detached. If I'd known they'd all grow up into people this unbearable, maybe I shouldn't have saved them at all. After hearing the truth, all 8 of them stood there in a daze. Their expressions mirrored Vivian Lynn's earlier. Eyes reddened, faces pale. When they looked at me, their gazes were filled with regret and pain. It was as if they had 1,000 things they wanted to say to me. They looked exactly like tragic male supporting characters suffering for love in a drama. It was almost funny. I ignored them. They turned and left together with Leo Lee. But in the days that followed, I truly began to feel. Maybe some truths are better left unspoken. After learning the truth, those 8 men were consumed by regret. From morning till night, they kept appearing in front of me, performing the role of the heartbroken male lead over and over again. Some of them even almost knelt down, begging me to forgive them. They even said that even if I didn't like them, it didn't matter. The 8 of them were willing to be my spare tires forever, to be my lifelong best friends. How interesting. Why did that line sound so familiar? Oh. Right, those were exactly the words Vivian Lynn had once said to them. Vivian Lynn liked living a detached, otherworldly life with 9 men orbiting around her. But I wasn't insane like that. I looked at them seriously and said, I have a boyfriend now. We love each other very much. Please don't come looking for me again. Hearing this, the 8 of them looked even more pained and unwilling. In the end, they only left behind one sentence: I won't give up. Then they left together. I was still confused about why they'd suddenly been so decisive this time. When I turned around and saw Leo Lee walking toward me, frowning, Leo Lee said those 8 men were too persistent. He was afraid they'd keep coming to harass me in the future. He suggested that I stay at his place for a while. He wasn't busy most of the time and could drive me to and from work. with him around. Every time they showed up, he'd beat them up. After enough times, they'd probably stop coming. Exactly what kind of little angel fallen into the mortal world was Leo Lee? I was incredibly moved and agreed immediately. After I moved into Leo Lee's place, the 8 of them did come a few more times. Each time, they were beaten up by Leo Lee. Eventually, they finally quieted down. To thank Leo Lee, I decided to personally cook him a meal. The 2 of us went to a nearby supermarket together. That's when we ran into 2 women who looked very much like me. One was a wealthy woman, very well maintained, dressed exquisitely. The other was a middle-aged woman, deep wrinkles etched between her brows, looking sharp and unpleasant. Their facial features were extremely similar. It was just that the middle-aged woman looked much older than the rich one. I heard the middle-aged woman crying and calling the wealthy woman sister, begging her, saying she knew she was wrong, asking her sister to help her. While they were arguing, they noticed me. Standing not far away, both of them looked slightly shocked. Leo Lee glanced over there, frowned, then pulled me away. After we got back, I finally learned the wealthy woman was Vivian Lin's biological mother. Mrs. Lin. The middle-aged woman was Mrs. Lin's twin sister. Mrs. Lin had come from a poor family, but she herself was extremely capable. She was a university classmate of Mr. Lin. After graduation, the 2 of them got married. Mrs. Lin's twin sister, however, dropped out of school early, and often associated with gangsters, developing many bad habits. More than 20 years ago, Mrs. Lin's sister accidentally became pregnant. She didn't even know who the father was. With nowhere else to go, she moved into Mrs. Lin's home. The 2 children were born almost at the same time. But in the second year, Mrs. Lin's sister set her sights on her brother-in-law. While Mrs. Lin was away, she sneaked into his bedroom in the middle of the night. Fortunately, Mr. and Mrs. Lin had a strong relationship. Mr. Lin angrily scolded her and threw her out of the bedroom. After that, Mrs. Lin's sister was kicked out of the Lin family. For years now, her whereabouts had been unknown. After hearing all this, I felt a strange ache in my chest. Mr. and Mrs. Lin sounded like decent, upright people. Who would have thought their daughter, Vivian Lin, would turn out so unhinged? Maybe she'd just been spoiled too much since childhood. Less than 2 days later, it was Leo Lee's mother's birthday. Leo Lee's mother had heard about me from him, and invited me to join them for dinner. At first, I didn't want to go. But Leo Lee said his mother had been urging him to find a girlfriend recently, and asked me to help him deal with his family. After all the times he'd helped me, I felt embarrassed to refuse such a small favor. So I agreed. Only after arriving did I realize this wasn't a normal family dinner at all. Hundreds of guests had been invited to the birthday banquet. Everyone was dressed lavishly, either rich or noble. I was stunned. Vivian Lin had once said Leo Lee's parents wouldn't think highly of me. But whether it was the car he drove, the clothes he wore, or the place he lived, everything about Leo Lee was extremely low-key. I never expected his family to be even wealthier than those 8 ex-boyfriends. At the banquet, I saw those 8 crazy ex-boyfriends, Vivian Lin, and her group of so-called sisters. None of their families were as wealthy as the Lin family. Normally, they followed Vivian Lin around, flattering her, acting like her underlings. When Leo Lee went to look for his parents, Vivian Lin's group immediately surrounded me. One sentence from one, another from the next, mockery began. So this is the poor ghost who stole Vivian's man? Everything she's wearing probably doesn't add up to more than 10,000. Just a high-end counterfeit, that's all. Who would have thought those blind men would really fall for her? What a waste. Vivian saved them back then, and this is how they repay her. An orphan with no money and no background like you. How dare you come to a place like this? Don't tell me you really think those 9 men like you? You think their families would agree to let them marry you? Stop dreaming. Vivian is the Lin family's young lady, the dream daughter-in-law of our entire circle. And what are you? Humph. If you know what's good for you, you should get lost now. They're only favoring you because you're new and fresh. Look at how poor you are. How could you possibly compare to our Vivian? Sooner or later, they'll all return to her. Look, you've been here for so long, and Madame Li hasn't even glanced at you. She clearly looks down on someone like you. Vivian Lin finally spoke softly, but her eyes were full of smugness and disdain. Don't say that, she said gently, even though Sister Tracy comes from a bad background, grew up in an orphanage, and has a malicious heart. Bullying a girl like this still isn't very nice. Her underlings immediately laughed and echoed her words. Vivian, you're just too kind. With such a good family background, and still so gentle and considerate. This poor thing is the one who dares to bully you. Today, I'll teach her a lesson for you. I was speechless. Whenever Vivian Lin was involved, nothing good ever happened. But this farce didn't last long. Liu Li soon returned. They all immediately backed away, not daring to say another word. Liu Li swept them with an expressionless glance and said, "My mother wants to meet her. Come, I'll take you over." Vivian Lin's group stiffened slightly. They clearly hadn't expected Madame Li to take the initiative to meet someone as lowly as me. I walked forward until I stood in front of Mrs. Li. Only then did I notice that Mrs. Lin was standing beside her as well. Mrs. Li warmly reached out and took my hand. "So you're the girl who saved Xingye back then, right?" She said with a smile. "I never imagined you'd be this beautiful. I've wanted to meet you for so long, but Xingye guarded you too tightly. No matter what I said, he just wouldn't let me see you. So petty, honestly." As she spoke, she shot a sharp glare at Li Xingye. "Let me make this clear first," Mrs. Li continued loudly. "I only acknowledge one daughter-in-law in my life, and that's her. If you ever dare switch to someone else, I won't agree. Not a chance." The moment those words left her mouth, something completely unexpected happened. All of a sudden, 8 other wealthy, well-dressed women surrounded me. One of them grabbed my other hand and laughed. "Mrs. Li, that's not quite right. This girl is obviously the one my son Du Xian likes. Don't go stealing her from us." She turned to me gently. "My dear, I know Du Xian caused you a lot of grievances before. I've already beaten him for it. You saved his life once, so in the future, he must repay you with his whole self." Before I could react, another rich lady wearing an oversized gold necklace forcefully took hold of my hand. "What nonsense is that?" she snapped. "She's clearly the girlfriend of our Ziqi." Sure, they argued before, but couples always make up in the end. She smiled at me warmly. "My child, thank goodness you saved Ziqi back then. As long as you marry into our family, I'll buy you a house immediately and arrange the wedding." The remaining ladies refused to be outdone. One after another, they started pulling at my hands, all talking at once, all insisting on betrothing me to their sons. Mrs. Li panicked. She hurriedly called for relatives to help separate them. Then she shouted toward the back, furious, "Security! Where are the guards? Throw them out. How dare they come to my house and steal my daughter-in-law?" I stood there, completely stunned. This was nothing like the script we had agreed on. I looked around in disbelief. I saw 8 lunatics, each cheering for their own sons. I saw Li Qingye, his face dark as thunder, leading security forward to drag the last person away. And then, my gaze fell on Lin Yushi. The gentle, kind smile she usually wore could no longer hold. Her teeth were clenched, her face twisted with rage. She stared at me viciously. She hated me. She hated that I had taken the men she believed belonged to her. She hated that I had taken everything that should have been hers. The people beside her were stunned as well. One of her followers whispered in shock, "Wait. Wasn't Yushi the one who saved 9 people back then? How did it suddenly become that poor country girl?" Before she could finish speaking, Lin Yushi shot her a furious glare. Her expression froze. Then Lin Yushi quickly forced a smile and said, "Yushi, don't lower yourself to her level. You're the young miss of the Lin family. These ladies are just being polite. Who would actually marry a poor country girl with no money or status?" Only then did Lin Yushi's expression ease slightly. But at that exact moment, amid the pushing and pulling, the jade bracelet on my wrist was exposed. Mrs. Lin, who was standing beside us, suddenly turned deathly pale. She rushed forward and grabbed my hand. Mrs. Li cried out in alarm, "I say, Mrs. Lin, you don't even have a son. Why are you joining the chaos?" Mrs. Lin's eyes instantly reddened. Tears welled up as she pulled me into her arms. "My child," she sobbed, her body trembling. "Mom searched for you for 5 years. I finally found you. You are my biological daughter, the child who was lost more than 20 years ago." In that instant, everyone froze. Lin Yushi's face became unbearably ugly. She stared at the scene in disbelief. Her followers covered their mouths. Looking back and forth between Lin Yushi and me, completely stunned, after Mrs. Li's birthday banquet ended, Mrs. Lin immediately took me for a DNA test. The results came back quickly. I was indeed Mrs. Lin's biological daughter. Mrs. Lin held me tightly and cried until her heart felt torn apart. Mr. Lin wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes and gently pulled both of us into his arms. I was held between them, like a child who had finally come home. At the end of the hallway, Lin Yushi stood there, her face pale as paper. She glared at me with eyes filled with venom, her body swaying as if she might collapse. I looked at Mrs. Lin, who was still holding me, my mind dazed. "Mom. Dad. Please don't cry anymore," I said softly. "Can you tell me what really happened?" Mrs. Lin wiped away her tears, forcing a smile through the sobs, and slowly began to explain. She and her younger sister, Zhao Fanfang, were twin sisters. They looked almost identical growing up. When Lin Yushi and I were born, we looked remarkably alike as well. Zhao Fanfang once tried to seduce my father. When she failed, she was driven out of the Lin family. Filled with resentment, she secretly swapped the 2 babies, taking me away. After leaving, she didn't want to raise me at all. She abandoned me directly at the gate of an orphanage. Back then, my mother only noticed that the baby was missing the jade bracelet. She assumed Zhao Fanfang had stolen it to exchange for money. She never imagined her sister could be that cruel, to steal the child herself. It wasn't until 5 years ago, during a medical checkup, that my parents discovered through blood type testing that Lin Yushi was not their biological daughter. From then on, they secretly began searching for me. They knew Lin Yushi was still secretly in contact with Zhao Fanfang. Afraid of alerting the enemy, they pretended nothing was wrong and continued treating Lin Yushi as before. Eventually, they lured Zhao Fanfang back. Just as they were preparing to trace my whereabouts, My mother saw me at a supermarket. At that moment, she already felt suspicious, and today, when she saw the jade bracelet on my wrist, she was finally certain I was her daughter. Mrs. Lin cupped my face gently, her voice breaking. My child. You must have suffered so many injustices growing up, haven't you? My heart suddenly felt lighter, my eyes reddened. So, my parents hadn't abandoned me. There had been another truth. I shook my head gently. Mom, Dad, don't be sad. I've lived quite well these past years. The orphanage director loved us like her own children. We all got along well. After getting into high school, I studied and worked at the same time. I made it to college, just like any other kid. My mother's eyes turned red again. Tomorrow, take us to visit the director you mentioned. I want to thank her personally. I smiled and nodded. Lin Yusher was later expelled from the Lin family. She knelt on the ground, crying and begging, saying she couldn't bear to leave them. Mrs. Lin sighed deeply. Everything you did to compete and scheme, I know it all. Yusher. I never thought that after raising you for so many years, you learned none of the principles of being a good person. It turns out, it really was inherited from your biological mother. From today onward, your fate with this family has ended. Go. I don't want my real daughter to ever be hurt because of you again. When Lin Yusher left, her face was ghostly pale. She cried until she could barely breathe, yet the look she gave me was soaked in poison. After my mother acknowledged me, she held a grand banquet, inviting many people to formally announce that I was her daughter. At the banquet, I saw Lin Yusher's former circle of sisters. Every single one of them looked utterly regretful, their faces twisted with pain and remorse, as if their intestines had turned green. The parents of those 8 lunatics all crowded enthusiastically in front of my parent, arguing so fiercely that no one could stop them. Every single one of them wanted to arrange an engagement between me and their own son. Mrs. Li grew a little anxious. She quickly pulled my mother's hand and said, Sister, Qingye from our family and Jinjin are clearly in love with each other. You can't break up a pair of lovebirds like that. These people are eyeing our corner day and night, trying to steal her away. Let's at least let the 2 kids get engaged first. Otherwise, I won't have a single peaceful day. My mother didn't respond right away. Instead, she turned to look at me. Jinjin, she asked gently, what do you think? I hesitated for a moment, to be honest. I wanted to say that I didn't want to get engaged just yet, but Li Qingye, standing beside me, grew anxious. He secretly pinched my hand, his eyes fixed on me with a pitiful look. I coughed lightly and said, then, let's get engaged to Li Qingye. Yes, Li Qingye and I were officially acting like it was real now. Li Qingye finally let out a breath of relief. Mrs. Li immediately beamed with joy. The other 8 ladies all looked disappointed, their faces filled with regret, glaring fiercely at their own sons for being utterly useless. Their sons, on the other hand, looked completely dazed, staring straight at me as if their souls had left their bodies. Everyone's gaze gathered on me. As if I were Tang Monk's flesh, I shuddered unconsciously, and yet, strangely enough, I suddenly felt that getting engaged, and even getting married, didn't sound too bad. When I went to try on wedding photos, Lin Yusher drove her car straight into mine, attempting to die together with me. As a result, my mother had bought me a car with the highest safety rating, outstanding collision resistance and protection. My car was completely fine. Her car, however, was crushed at the front, and she herself was seriously injured. She nearly lost her life. My parents still felt terrified whenever they thought about it. After she was discharged from the hospital, they immediately reported both her and her mother. From then on, the mother and daughter could no longer cause trouble. They were both arrested and imprisoned. On the day of my wedding with Li Qingye, only our parents from both sides were supposed to be present, but the parents of those 8 lunatics, invited or not, still showed up, just before my father placed my hand into Li Qingye's. The 8 of them suddenly jumped out. Each of them had reddened eyes, teeth clenched tightly, glaring fiercely at Li Qingye. "If you don't treat her well," they said viciously in unison, "we will never let you off." The guests didn't even dare breathe loudly. I was speechless. "Who even are you people? I'm getting married. What does it have to do with you? Didn't you see my father behind you, his face already dark as thunder? You've completely stolen his spotlight. At least leave him some dignity." It was supposed to be his turn to speak next. Li Qingye's face darkened as well. Without hesitation, he kicked each of them away, 1 kick per person, sending them tumbling down. Then he calmly straightened his clothes and said obediently to my father, "Dad, let's continue." My father's eyes softened with joy and satisfaction. He solemnly placed my hand into Li Qingye's. "I only have 1 daughter," my father said gravely. "From now on, you must treat her well. If you ever wrong her, I will not let you off." I almost couldn't hold it in. "Dad, could you maybe use a different line?" I felt my resentful stare land on him. My father looked awkward, rubbing his nose. Li Qingye also spoke solemnly, "Dad, don't worry. For the rest of my life, I will cherish her, love her, and I will absolutely not give any other lunatics a chance." The 8 lunatics struggled back to their feet, eyes red, shouting, "Li Qingye, you'd better remember what you said today." I looked at them coldly. "Get out," I said. "You've had way too much screen time today." Han Ziqi shouted emotionally, "Jinjin is looking at me. Does that mean she still has me in her heart?" The other 7 immediately exploded. "You're talking nonsense. The one she's looking at is obviously me." They all turned toward me excitedly and shouted in unison, "Jinjin. If you want to cancel the engagement right now, that's fine. I'll marry you today." Li Qingye's face turned pitch black, his fists clenched tightly. I quickly wrapped my arm around his and whispered, "Let's wait until the wedding is over before you beat them up." Li Qingye smiled gently. The end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to Love Stories with Lisa for more stories. Thank you so much.